All right, question of the day. What is your favorite relaxing type theme for a game? Because today we're talking about Trail Story. Now, this is a game all about going the trails and making memories, journaling those memories, and then maybe, also exaggerating those memories a little bit if you have to, based on the mechanics of the game.
There and back again.
This is from WizKids. I'm really excited to take a look at Trail Story right now. Now, there's some apostrophe S's there I may have missed, but we'll see. All right, this is Trail Story America. Now, this is a game all about moving your wanderer all across the board here, taking different actions. There are several different actions you can take. The goal of the game is to journal your trip and have the best memories, or by that, the most points at the end of the game. Now, the way this is going to work is you're going to scout is the first action you can do. On your turn, you'll do one of these actions. So let's say you do scout. So scout, you'll draw story tokens to fill in every juncture around you with story tokens. Now, currently, there aren't any missing. Let's just say we were here, and I did the scout action here. I would draw 1, 2, 3 out of the bag and place them. Once you do that, you will then place 3 experience cubes. Notice the experience is here, skills is here, and then over here are where memories, items, and your movement increases. So if you were to do this, let's just say you place 3 out. You'll gain 3 here. You'll pull the ones out of the bag. They would go randomly here onto the board. Your choice, actually. And that's a scout action. Now, the reason you're going to do that is because when you reflect later, and we'll go ahead and cover reflect, you can spend 3 experience from one row to pull off one of the Wanderlust tokens off the board. It's how you increase your actions, your memory spaces, your amount of skills you can use when rolling dice, your amount of movement down here, and the amount of item slots. That's what that part of the reflect action is. The second part of that is, well, first of all, when you do that, you'll take the Wanderlust tokens and put them out here on the board, creating a haven. That's what these you see already out here are. Now, you can do that multiple times if you have more than one in a row. Second part of that action is to also spend any 4 experience cubes to take one of these new inspiration tokens and put it onto the type of terrain you're on. So let's say we're in the river there. This will go here. Inspiration tokens we'll cover in a second. When you travel, currently your movement at the base beginning of the game is 1. So you can move 1 space, but you can only move across story tokens. When you do, you'll pull this token aside for a moment. You'll draw the type of card. There's friends, mysteries, enemies, and beast or animals. Then you'll pick which of these to do. If it says and, you have to keep going until you do it all. This is a deputy, so you can spend a skill in your brain, or sanity, as I like to call it here, to move one of these cubes over. Now, these experience places only hold 3 slots. So let's just say this wasn't full. You would move one over to here. Now you have 3 experience there. Per dice, or per cube you move over to this area, or discard if it's full, you roll a dice. The dice is you're trying to beat the amount of stars greater than or equal to on here to pass the test. So if we pass this one, we would gain an ability. The abilities are things like balance. Whenever you use agility to activate a die, and activate 2 dice instead. So cool little things that perk it there. When you're done, once you've succeeded, you'll take the card, you'll stick it over here to the side by your journal, and then you'll put this in your memory section. Now, that's the main crux of getting points at the end of the game, is the memory section. So that's travel. Now, you could have cards that will add other cards to it. If you fail, you'll do what's in the right side of the failure. If you pass, you'll take the success for it. Next is camps. You'll draw a campsite card. You will do the 2 actions in the top right. So this would be gain a meat and get to eat. Now, another person can move up to the amount of spaces listed and either take one of these benefits at the bottom for free to your space. So let's say the green player did the camp action. I could choose to move here. I could take one of these benefits for free if I chose to move there. I could give them a card of my choice to take 2 of these benefits. Or if I bond, I could take the green benefit and 2 others, or 3 of the benefits at the bottom. They're just different things like eating or filling in. The different shapes show where they go. So this would be experience. If it was a square, it'd be on the skill side. And if it's this inspiration, you would bump up one of your inspiration. I forgot to mention what inspiration does. If you decide that you need to roll more dice than you have the skills to move over, you can just slide inspiration down to add dice. Also, you have a hope token. This is an automatic success. Once you flip it, you succeed at that story, and then you flip it over. Now, there's certain things will let you flip that back over. Case in point, these cubes would not be here at the beginning of the game. When you reflect in a space of a type of terrain, you'll also gain the benefit associated here. So now, when we reflect in the woods, we will gain our hope back. When we scout in the woods, we'll gain berries, and so on. You can see the benefits there. When you eat, you can choose to eat berries, which will give you 1 skill back and 2 inspiration. You'll get to push these back up. When you eat fish, you'll get 2 skills. And when you eat meat, you'll fill in all the available spaces of said terrain. The last thing is journal. The way it works is you're going to take a story card, and let's say we do this blue one here. The first card you journal only costs 2 stars worth of memory, so we could actually journal this card right here. Later on in the game, though, they cost 4 cards or 4 stars each. So if I wanted to journal this card, at least one of the memories would have to match this color. And now we have 4 stars worth of 2 here and 2 here. We just discard those back into the bag and tuck this under our journal. You'll keep playing until all players have 4 cards journaled, or one player has 5, or there's havens on every space out here. You'll do that, then you'll count points based on the amount of havens you have, the amount of tokens on the havens, the amount of journal cards you have in general, the amount of bonuses on the journal cards, the amount of items that you have, and then everything else you have divided by 3, minus 2 for despair cards, which is the penalty for failing sometimes. That is how you play Trail Story America. All right, so first and foremost, we break down the game by a rubric system. We do concept, then board layout, mechanics, art direction, or how the game looks and functionally what it does. Components, essentially art, gameplay, and rule book, and then we get a total from there. So first of all, concept. I'm going to give this an 8. I actually really like the concept of taking a trek, but not a trek that's basically, I'm going in the woods right now, but you'd be in a certain time period. And in that comes up that you're going to encounter some things and you're journaling about it. You may have to get a little fuzzy with some of the details of your journal, basically. To me, that's a really cool concept. I like the 1930s. I like this whole concept of going on a trail, trek, and then all those encounter cards happening is really, really cool. So that's an 8. Board layout is a 7. I actually waffled a little bit to give this a 6.5 or 7, and that's because the board layout is essentially randomized tiles. And depending on the player count, that can be a little bit tricky on getting to your havens, as you saw in the mechanics there. So, I don't know. It's fine. How about that? The board layout is fine. You have the board out there. You have your player board, which I do really like. So that will keep it at a 7 for that. I like your player board with the stuff that moves on there, which leads us right to the mechanics of the game. How does the game play, from mechanical side, and the actual gameplay comes later. Mechanics-wise, you are moving your character potentially. You're doing one action of a certain set of actions. And those actions can be, move or populate the areas you can move, make memories, journal those memories, build your experience up, make a haven, all this sort of stuff. Go camping or set up a campsite and have other players come visit your campsite and get benefits for visiting your campsite. So to me, it's a really cool set of mechanics there. So it's a 7 for mechanics. Art direction is a 7 as well, only because there's a couple symbols in it to me that were a little tricky. Do I gain this or do I spend this, or what does it do? Now, when we get to the rule book, we'll talk about in a minute. It does a pretty good job of explaining that. Art direction, so it's a 7. It has spaces on the board where you put things, where to do it. So it's pretty straightforward. But again, there are quite a few symbols and some things can get a little tricky there. Art components is an 8. I actually really love the art in this game. The art on those encounter cards is fantastic. They just look really, really nice when you see them and they pop up and the stories behind them. All of it's really good. Even if it's single colors, in the art pictures, I just really like the way it looks. I think it's really well done. The art on the board's fine, but the actual component, like the cards, is what to me really set this apart. So, it is what it is. I would ding it a little, or don't ding it, but obviously you're using multiple cubes to be different things, so you can't have too many, besides being black cubes, they couldn't be too many things because they're separate things. There's skills and experience and this. So I get why they're black cubes, but I would like to see something a little better. Gameplay's a 7.5. Now, I like it, but it's a little simple in the sense of sometimes you feel like you're on a railroad. Well, I have to do this so that I can do this, so I can do this, and the other player's on that same track, almost. Now, obviously, there is some variation when it comes to gaining the benefits you would rather have early on in the game by setting up havens, by doing the reflect action. Obviously, if you reflect in certain areas, you can get those bonuses that make your actions in each place better, as well as boosting your actions themselves. So to me, that's really cool. I like the whole aspect of journaling and needing the cards and the memories. You need stronger memories to make a more exciting journal and an exciting story. And I like, I've alluded to it twice, it's not really a major mechanic, but it's funny to me. It says, You only have to have one color that matches the card that you're journaling. The rest of them can be there, and they may or may not have happened. I thought that was kind of funny. It's like, all right, you have to get a little fuzzy and creative sometimes, but I thought that was great. So the rule book's at 7.5. Each action is laid out. There are a couple things I wish were placed a little bit better towards where they're more useful when it comes to camping and things like that, and the reflecting, I believe. But other than that, it's pretty great. One more thing in the gameplay, I like the camping action. I don't like that you actually don't have as much of a benefit as they do. To me, that is really strange how, when we played, because you are able to get cards so quickly, there's no reason not to bond. If you're going to do the action, there's no reason not to bond action, get the special action, and the other two actions. To me, that's just strange. Unless you have a card that you know is going to get them 1 or 2 points because the game scores in relatively low numbers, I just don't see a reason not to bond. So there's that. So total all in all comes out to a 7.5. Interesting game, enjoyable game, pretty game for the most part. That is Trail Stories. I liked it. I liked how this does. I like how it plays. It's one I'm not sure that in 10 years would be like, man, remember that game? Now, there probably are some tweaks and things that could make it a little tighter, but other than that, I mean, really, really solid game. Trail Story Whiskets. Hey, I'm Brian Drake. Make sure to check us out on Dice Tower, at Dice Tower Brian on Instagram, and until next time, we will see you.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.